If you own a TMS chair in your practice and it's sitting empty more than it's used, you're missing hundreds of thousands of dollars. 99% of patients who are eligible for this never even know it exists. In this video, I'm going to teach you exactly why most patients don't take advantage of TMS. And more importantly, I'm going to teach you how to take advantage of this massive market opportunity, and it will blow your practice up. I'm Dr. DuBose, and I help people build what I call the paradise practice. I help people build the practice that serves their community, that grows your revenue, and gives you the life and legacy that you deserve. Over the past several years, I've talked to many practitioners that's invested 6 figures on a TMS chair only for it to sit there empty. Many of my clients have said that it's the worst investment they've made in their careers, and they regret buying a chair. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to turn that from regret to success. I'm going to teach you the main barriers that's keeping your chair from being full, and I'm going to give you a systematic approach of how to grow your TMS practice so it can be exactly what you envisioned when you bought it. So let's start with some numbers that will grab your attention. It's projected by 2030 that the TMS market will grow to $2.4 million worldwide.
It's billion with a B.
Well, a billion, that's $2.4 billion. And despite TMS being out since 2008 and having FDA approval, only 0.25% of patients that qualify for it take advantage of the service. That is ridiculous. But it also shows the fantastic market opportunity that TMS provides for you as a private practitioner and a business owner. But really, the biggest opportunity is serving your community and helping people who have struggled with depression for far too long. So just think about what I just said for a moment. There's an FDA-approved treatment that's been out for almost 2 decades that the vast majority of patients that qualify for it have not done, even though it's safe and effective, it's research-backed, it's covered by all the major insurances, and 99.75% of all patients that could do it are not doing it. What an opportunity. But why is that? Well, the reason is there's an education gap and there's a communication gap. The message is just not getting out effectively. And for you to grow your practice, you have to become a master communicator about TMS. Recently in my practice, we identified over 200 patients that will qualify for TMS, that had the right insurance, and had the right diagnosis, but had never been offered TMS. Now, imagine my practice times every single practice in the country that has the exact same situation. It's a massive unmet need, but also a massive opportunity. In my coaching work, I've identified 3 barriers that stops you from having the full chair that you desire. Barrier 1 is provider education. One of my coaching clients tried to add ketamine to her practice as an intervention for depression. She went to ask her partner, who's a physician, about adding it, and she got bombarded with questions. What is it? What about the safety? What about the DEA? I don't even know if it's effective. Should people take this long term? And she has so many questions that it ultimately didn't add it to their practice. People have the same attitude about TMS if they never heard of it, if they don't know it's safe, if they don't know if it's FDA approved or covered by insurance. Many providers in the community, especially primary care, have never heard about this service, even though it's been out for over a decade. So this education gap must be overcome in order for providers in your community to send referrals your way. Number 2, there are patient misconceptions. One of your big barriers to filling your chair is the mindset and the understanding of your patients. Many patients don't understand the difference between TMS and ECT or electroconvulsive therapy. There's confusion about, does it hurt? Do I have a seizure? Does it require anesthesia? They don't know the treatment course. And because of these misconceptions, patients don't take action. We have to be prepared for every objection that a patient may have to not move forward with the treatment. For example, it costs too much. An answer may be, well, it's covered by insurance. You only have to pay your copay. Or, how much money are you losing by not fixing this problem? So patients will have multiple objections of why not to do the treatment, and we have to answer all of their misconceptions for them to take action. Number 3 is a set it and forget it mentality that many providers have. And when I say many providers, I'm talking about you. When I first bought my TMS chair, the TMS rep came and they said, hey, all you need is this many patients and you're going to make this much money. And the chair is basically going to pay for itself. And I saw the numbers on the spreadsheet. I'm like, whoa, I'm going to make so much cash from my practice. Our business model is to make cash from interventional services so my med management providers can take their time with their patients. So I was motivated. I bought the chair. I brought it in. I got the space. And I was like, all right, everybody's going to want to do TMS. And guess what? Crickets. That's because I had a set it and forget it mentality. You think buying the chair and letting a few people know you have this service is enough to bring in patients and revenue. It's like that old adage, if you build it, they will come. Well, that doesn't work with TMS. So there must be a concerted effort to hit these first 2 points, but make TMS a focus in your practice so that every effort is bringing patients to your chair. A mentality I teach my providers is everyone is a TMS patient until proven otherwise. It's a great mentality to teach your team so that they're looking for the cues that will identify the patient that will be appropriate for TMS, and they have the right vocabulary to explain it to your patient so that they will want it. Let me share with you the systematic approach I teach my coaching clients to help them grow their TMS practice. I call it the Paradise Practice TMS strategy, and it's built on 4 pillars. The first pillar is avatar clarity. Having a very clear picture of your ideal client is so important as you build out your education and communication campaign. Having an understanding of what the ideal patient looks like, what their pain points are, what type of resources they use online, such as social media platforms or search engines, will help you identify how to get the message out to that particular person. For example, our best client might be a middle-aged woman that is a family member or spouse of an active duty soldier. That's going to give her the ideal insurance for us. We'll have an idea of her income and an idea of her fears and barriers to getting to my office. I'll use that information to craft my marketing message. This is the central catalyst for everything that you need to do to be a better educator and a better communicator about TMS. Pillar 2 is having a systematic patient identifying system. Pillar 2 really focuses on how do you find the patients that are going to qualify for this service. And that comes from having clear indicators for your staff for identifying these patients, triggers in your EHR to be able to find these patients. We also have to have a system for identifying the right providers in the community that will be serving the patients that you're looking for. And then finally, we need to have clear screening protocols to find these patients. For example, the PH29 or the BDI with score thresholds that's going to flag the patient that's ideal for this treatment. Once you systematize these things, you'll consistently get opportunities to get people in your chair. Pillar 3 is strategic education. And conveniently, there are 3 audiences you have to educate. You have to educate your team, you have to educate your patients, you have to educate your providers in the community. The education must be clear, it must be appropriate for the audience, and typically it needs to be written in the 8th grade level unless you're talking to other doctors, and I graduate that up to like 10th grade level. If you're able to clearly communicate not just what it is, but the value that TMS creates for the patient, you get more referrals. Your team sends more referrals because they're clearly educating the people that they come in contact with Other providers send more referrals because they have a clear idea of what TMS does and what problem it solves. And your patients self-identify that they want it because they're better educated about how it's going to help them solve their depression. Pillar 4 is systematic optimization and tracking. On this pillar, we have to have a clear idea of how many leads are coming in, how many of these patients actually become customers, and we also need to track what happens to the people that raised their hand and said they were interested and never signed up to be a patient. Those clients need to be nurtured. So what I mean by a nurturing sequence is most people don't buy something expensive the very first time they see it. It's like buying a car. Most people go and they test drive the car. They drive several ones before they make a final buying decision. TMS is a commitment of time and resources. And many patients won't commit to it until they're convinced and persuaded that the outcome that they're likely to receive outweighs the resource commitment they got to put into it. So many people who raise their hand to say they're interested won't commit on the first time. So we need an opportunity to nurture those people, which means to continually educate them, continuously show them the benefit if they decide to take action, but also remind them the cost that they're paying by not fixing the problem. If you're able to do that successfully, more people will sign up to be sitting in your chair. So now we have to implement everything we've learned because it can be overwhelming. So to make it easy for you, I put together a 90-day implementation roadmap. We're going to walk through this so you can actually apply this to your practice. Phase 1 is foundation building. You're going to need a practical way to identify these patients in your practice. So during phase 1, which should be the first month of you implementing this in your practice, we have to have some practical strategies to identify the patients in your practice. So some examples of this would be, 1, an easy screening tool that you can use. If I can spell screening, that's close enough. You need a screening tool that can easily identify the patients that will qualify for this service. One simple thing you could use would be a PHQ-9 and give it criteria for all of your providers and all of your staff members. So in our practice, we identified every patient with a PHQ-9 greater than 14 for 2 consecutive visits as a possible candidate for TMS, and they automatically flag to be talked to about this service. Another example would be using strategic email marketing. So if you have a list of your active patients in your practice and you have consent to contact them via email, we just send out an educational blast about the opportunity that TMS creates for their lives. Be depression-free, or finally fix your depression with this new innovative FDA technology. Something like that. Number 3 is you need a workflow that's going to get these identified patients evaluated, medically cleared, and scheduled for treatment, as well as getting the insurance authorization all done in an automated and a systematized way. There's a concept called speed to lead. The faster that someone raises their hand and say, hey, I want to do TMS, the faster you get them into a patient visit and the faster you get into the chair, the more people will actually follow through with the treatment. So you have to identify your workflow and make sure your team understands that workflow. Number 4, we talked about this a lot, is educational materials. So think of educational materials almost like promotional materials. Many people don't choose to start a service because they're undereducated or they're not aware it exists. So in this first 30 days, you want to create physical materials like brochures and pamphlets, also digital materials like TikTok videos, Facebook posts, so that as many people as possible in your practice can be aware that this service exists in your practice. If you successfully complete phase 1, then you're ready for phase 2. Phase 2 is relationship building. In phase 2, your primary objective is to spread the gospel of TMS. You need to let primary care doctors know this exists and that you're doing it. You need to let other psychiatrists, other counselors, anyone that treats your ideal patient should know that this exists. So some examples of places to reach out to are going to be primary care, going to be counselors. It's going to be psychiatric advanced practitioners, such as a physician assistant or psychiatric nurse practitioners. Obviously, other psychiatrists, neurologists. And I would set the goal to focus your attention here on primary care. They're going to have the largest volume of patients. Most of the patients have failed to antidepressants, and they are looking to refer people out because they may not want to manage behavioral health. So you can be that go-to person that's willing to accept their mental health referrals, but specifically their depression referrals. And your job would be to funnel and educate those patients about TMS so that a proportion of them will sign up to be TMS patients. In my opinion, your second priority should be psychiatrists. Psychiatrists clearly have the patient volume and the patient population that's appropriate for TMS. And it's important to educate them that you're not there to poach or take their patients away from them. You're working as a consultant or a specialist, and your job is to provide this service and let them go back to their primary psychiatrist so there's no competition, only cooperation. And then the other levels at your discretion based on your community. So how do you even reach these people though? Now, you could pay for ads, but that's kind of risky in the beginning. Here's some things that I would suggest. Number one, you could do an open house or lunch and learn. So this has been a very effective strategy because many providers don't know what it is. They've never seen the chair. It's an awesome opportunity to bring people into your practice, to get familiar with your environment, to actually put their hands in the chair. So this is a tangible memory for them when they're ready to refer a patient. Another idea is to make a media packet that doubles as a referral packet. So your media packet is going to include helpful information about TMS. It's going to identify who's the ideal patient. So you could put like a checklist. Does your patient sound like this? Check, 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 check. And then a call to action to refer the patient to your office. And you want to make it as easy as possible so that when they call, you're answering and that you have a staff member that's dedicated to receiving those referrals. Remember, speed to lead. Number 3, this was optional, is digital. And notice I didn't say digital marketing per se. So there's lots of ways to reach your colleagues using where everyone's attention is, which is the phone. You're probably watching this video on a phone. So why not take the time to start trickling down information on your Facebook, on your LinkedIn? And you want to become known as the person that has the expertise to treat treatment-resistant depression. It starts with a campaign of talking about this online. Now, once you've built relationships in the community, you're ready to move on to phase 3. So phase 3 is optimization, and I'm not even going to spell it, optimizations and scaling. Now, do not move forward with phase 3 until you've gotten traction with phase 1 and phase 2. Now that things are starting to work in your practice, you're ready to scale this thing. But to do that, you have to look at what's actually working versus what isn't working. So you know where to place your time, attention, and resources. So you need to be tracking the KPIs, which are the key performance indicators. So here are some examples of some of those indicators that's going to really give you an idea of if the strategy is working or not. So for example, leads. I want to know exactly how many referrals or leads are coming from each source. How many are coming internally? How many are coming from the primary care office that I just spent $500 to do a lunch for? I want to know where the majority of the leads are because I'm going to double down on that to see if I can get even more. Another thing you might want to track are your conversions. So conversion means I want to know of how many people that's coming for consultations, how many actually turned into patients. So if you have a high conversion rate, well, your team's probably doing a great job. If you have a very low conversion rate, either you're identifying the wrong clients or your team is not very good at persuading the client to take the next step. So you know exactly where to focus your attention to fix that. And one more example of something to track is revenue. So it's important to understand how much each patient is worth so you can prioritize your marketing spend and where you're going to spend your energy. For example, in our market, TRICARE is our best reimburser. Therefore, my marketing is focused towards military families and active duty soldiers as our primary demographic I want to spend ad money on to attract attention to TMS, because the reimbursement for that will cancel out the low reimbursement from Medicare, for example. So tracking these key performance indicators, and there are several more, will help you prioritize how to grow your TMS practice. So let this be your blueprint to scaling your practice and growing your TMS chair. The key is focus on one thing at a time and master each step before moving on to the next thing. So before we wrap up, I want to share with you the 3 most common mistakes that will kill your TMS practice. Mistake number 1 is trying to do everything at once. I packed a lot of content into this video, and if you try to do every single one of those things all at once, you will likely fail. TMS is not a side thing that you have in your office. It has to be a primary focus for it to be successful. And you got to think the long game. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So to implement these things, you need to master these things one at a time, definitely no more than 2 at a time, to see the long-term results that you're looking for. Mistake number 2 is not addressing the emotional concerns of the patient. Many doctors and practices market TMS as a service, and they focus on the parts. It's FDA approved, it's covered by insurance, it takes 36 treatments, and they talk about data. The patients care about those things, but what they care about most are the results that it can create, the change in their lives. I think the best way to market TMS is talking about moving them away from the pain that they're currently experiencing, instead of promising them something that seems so far away, which is complete depression relief. You want to emphasize the impact it'll have on their family, the impact it has on their job, the impact it has on their relationships, the impact it has on their personal satisfaction in life, and not just the pieces of TMS. If you can successfully communicate that, people will bang down your doors to get into that TMS chair. Mistake number 3 is not tracking the right metrics. Many of us track the success of our TMS chair by how many patients we currently have in the chair. However, that's a lagging indicator. It's a result of everything you did before that. What we really need to track is how many leads are coming in, how many appointment requests are coming in, how many of those are actually becoming patients, how many of our referring providers that you spent time building a relationship with are actually sending referrals. You need to track these leading indicators so that you can grow your chair and you won't always be in reaction mode. You want to be proactive, not reactive. These metrics help you identify problems before they impact your bottom line. The TMS opportunity is massive, but it won't last forever. As more practices figure out how to market this wonder, the market will decrease and your opportunity will diminish. The practices that take advantage of what I taught you in this video will capture the lion's share of the market before everybody catches up. So if you're serious about maximizing the TMS opportunity in your practice, I'm going to help you. I'm currently accepting a limited number of coaching clients for my coaching program, the Paradise Practice. So this is where I work one-on-one with you and your team to help you implement these strategies in your practice. The link to apply to the program is in the description below, but fair warning, this is not for everyone. This is for people who are really serious about blowing up their practice with TMS and also the most advanced services in mental health care. I only work with practitioners who are invested in growing their practice, helping their community, and they're ready to take an action step. If that's you, I'm ready to help you and your team make your practice the TMS profit center that it should be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.